Hello everyone, my friends. Liuba is here with you. Finally, I have brought my long-held idea to life. Today we are making stunning Pear Caramel cheese tartlets. The tartlets will consist of a sweet shortcrust shell, a crunchy layer with caramelized walnuts, a fragrant pear cider compote scented with vanilla, and an airy whipped ganache made with caramel chocolate and brie cheese. This is a harmonious pairing of pear and caramel with a light, delicate, cheesy aftertaste. Let us get cooking. First of all, we need to make the sweet shortcrust tartlet shells. I have chosen this elongated oval mold. It is my favorite. I made the shells ahead of time. The detailed recipe is on my channel. I will leave the link in the description under the video. And we are not going to waste any time and are moving on. Let us prepare the pear filling, the main flavor of our tartlets, and the filling will be special. In order to bring out the pear and make the flavor more interesting and rich, we will cook it in cider with vanilla. For the filling, ripe and flavorful pears will work, but it is better to choose firm varieties that keep their shape during cooking. I will use these conference pears. They are ideal. The pears need to be peeled, the cores removed, and cut into small cubes like these. Next, for the filling, we will need pear puree. I am using a ready-made one. Apple cider, it must be dry so it will not add extra sweetness and will accentuate the fresh pear taste, sugar, lemon juice, pectin mixed with a small amount of sugar, and vanilla paste. It will lend a gentle aroma and make the pear flavor even more interesting. Place the cider, sugar, and vanilla paste in a saucepan. On the stove, bring everything to a boil until the sugar is fully dissolved. Then we immediately add the pear cubes and cook them over low or medium heat. Here it is important not to rush and to cook at a gentle, almost imperceptible simmer, as this allows the pears to stew, warm through gently, and keep their shape. Cook for about 5 to 7 minutes until the cubes become soft and translucent, yet retain their shape. The ideal condition is when the pear is easily pierced with a skewer but does not fall apart. Here are the cubes we obtain. You can see that they have become translucent and soft, yet have perfectly kept their shape. Immediately turn the pears out into a sieve and let the liquid drain away. Let us take another look at the cubes. I am stirring them with a spoon, and you can see that they keep their shape perfectly, yet they are soft and translucent. Return the liquid to the saucepan. Now you need to bring it to a boil and reduce it. Cook over medium heat for about 7 minutes, but rely on visual cues. The syrup will decrease noticeably in volume, about 2 times or even more, will start to thicken, and will become richer in color and aroma. It is important not to overcook. As soon as the syrup begins to become thick yet is still clear and pourable, that is sufficient. If you cook it longer, it will begin to turn into caramel, and we need a pourable consistency. Immediately remove it from the heat. Take a look. This is the syrup we obtain. It has reduced noticeably in volume, become richer in color, thick, yet it remains clear and pourable, and this is how it thickens even more as it cools. Now add the pear puree to the syrup and whisk until smooth. The syrup concentrates the cider flavor and the caramel notes of the sugar, and they amplify the fruity base of the puree, making pear the main flavor of the tartlet. Pour in the sugar mixed with pectin in a thin stream like a gentle rain, whisking constantly so that no lumps form. Return the mixture to the stove and bring it to a boil. It is sufficient to heat it to approximately 87 degrees and hold it at this temperature for literally 1 to 2 minutes. This amount of time will be enough for the pectin to activate and provide the desired texture. Immediately remove the mixture from the heat, add the lemon juice, and whisk thoroughly. Now combine this mixture with the pear cubes. Stir well so that the syrup is distributed evenly and coats every piece of pear. As a result, we obtain a very beautiful filling with a bright pear flavor and juicy pieces that hold their shape. Transfer the filling into a shallow container, cover it with plastic wrap in direct contact with the surface, and place it in the refrigerator for several hours until it is completely chilled. In the meantime, we will prepare the base for the whipped ganache with brie cheese. For the ganache, we will need caramel chocolate, which will give the cream a warm flavor with notes of toffee and caramel. Brie cheese will add a light, creamy aftertaste with a delicate cheesy note. Glucose syrup, gelatin pre-soaked in cold water, and 2 portions of cream with a fat content of 33%. 1 hot for emulsifying and 1 cold. You will need to trim off the rind from the cheese. It is dense, and in the ganache it will not dissolve, and the ganache will end up with an uneven texture. Cut the trimmed cheese into small cubes so that it dissolves more easily in the ganache. Carefully melt the chocolate in a glass or in a tall container where it will be convenient to use the blender. Place 1 portion of the cream, the glucose syrup, and the bloomed gelatin in a small saucepan. Heat everything together until the gelatin is completely dissolved, but do not bring it to a boil. Add the cheese pieces to the melted chocolate so that it melts smoothly without lumps. I warmed the cheese a little in advance until it became warm and slightly melted. Pour the hot cream over the chocolate and cheese. Now blend everything thoroughly using an immersion blender. The mixture turns out quite thick and creamy. Now add the second portion of the cream, cold, and keep emulsifying with the blender until the mixture is homogeneous. Pour the ganache into a shallow container in a thin layer, cover it with plastic wrap in direct contact with the surface, and place it in the refrigerator to set. It will need from 8 hours. I always leave it overnight for about 12 hours. Let us prepare caramelized walnuts. We will need them for both the crunchy layer and for decorating the tartlets. This is a very delicious component. A walnut in caramel provides a rich flavor and a crunchy texture, and pairs wonderfully with pear. We will need walnuts. I roasted them in advance so that they would better reveal their flavor and aroma. For the syrup, we will need sugar and water. For the syrup, combine the sugar with the water in a saucepan, bring to a boil, and cook until the temperature reaches from 115 to 118 degrees. Then add the walnuts and begin stirring. At first, the sugar will start to crystallize and coat the walnuts with a white crust. This is the sablage process. We keep stirring, and little by little the sugar starts melting again and turns into caramel. You need to wait until all the walnuts are evenly coated with a layer of caramel. It is very important not to overheat the mixture. If you feel that the sugar is beginning to scorch, you can lift the saucepan and stir the walnuts off the heat, then set it back on. Place the finished caramel-coated walnuts immediately onto parchment paper. Use a spatula to separate them from one another so that they do not stick together, and leave them to cool completely. Look at how the walnuts turned out. Golden, glossy, very appetizing, delicious, and crunchy. I take some of the walnuts for the crunchy layer and leave the rest for decoration. For the layer, the walnuts need to be chopped with a knife into small pieces, like these, so that the crunch is noticeable but without large chunks. And now let us prepare the crunchy layer itself. For the crunchy layer, we will need chopped caramelized nuts, caramelized wafer, and a little nut butter. I have pecan butter, but almond will also work, and melted caramel chocolate. Now we need to combine all the ingredients. I start by mixing the melted chocolate with the nut butter until the mixture becomes completely smooth. I add the wafer to the nuts and pour the chocolate mixture on top. I mix everything thoroughly so that every piece of nut and wafer is coated with the chocolate mixture. The crunchy layer is ready. Now we spread the mixture over the bottom of the tartlet shells and distribute it evenly so that every bite of the tartlet includes the crunchy layer. Press it down lightly so that it holds its shape and does not separate when sliced. Look at how appetizing the crunchy layer looks. It not only adds texture, but will also become a true highlight of flavor. Place the tartlets in the refrigerator so the layer can set. Let us return to our filling. It has cooled down completely and set. Before using it, you need to stir it gently with a spatula. Look at its texture, thick yet pliable. And it is also very aromatic and incredibly delicious. Transfer the filling to a pastry bag and cut the tip a bit wider so that it is convenient to pipe. Fill the tartlet shells with the pear filling on top of the set crunchy layer all the way to the rim and use an offset spatula to smooth the surface. Look at how appetizing it looks, golden with flecks of vanilla seeds and pieces of pear. And also look at how the filling gleams. The reduced syrup gives it that beautiful glossy texture. We will place the filled tartlets in the refrigerator, and all that remains is to whip the ganache. It has set and become fairly thick, and when whipped it will turn into a fluffy cream. It is important not to over-whip it. We need it at a point where it holds its shape well, yet remains delicate and pliable. As soon as the whisk starts to leave tracks and the ganache keeps its shape, we stop. This is how it turns out. We work with the whipped ganache right away. I transfer the ganache into a pastry bag fitted with a tip. I use a Saint-Honoré tip, and I pipe it in waves like this. I really like this wave. The texture of the ganache is delicate yet stable, and it holds the detail from the tip perfectly. And the flavor of the ganache is intriguing. Caramel chocolate provides warmth and sweetness, while Brie cheese adds a light creamy note that is barely discernible in the aftertaste. All of this pairs wonderfully with the pear inside. And the finishing touch is decorating the tartlets with caramelized nuts. I place a few large pieces on each one and add a little crumble. Look at how the tartlets turn out. Elegant, refined, contemporary, very attractive and appetizing. And most importantly, they are very tasty. A crumbly shortbread base, a crunchy layer, fragrant pear, a delicate creamy mousse with caramel notes, and a subtle cheesy aftertaste. All of this together sounds simply perfect. This tartlet is a true gourmet combination. Friends, that is all for now. I hope that you are inspired and will definitely prepare these tartlets and try them. Thank you for your attention. See you in new videos. Bye-bye.